Ah, Never Say Die. That's the book where George competes at a velodrome. After Nancy looks up velodrome in the dictionary, she knows it's a bicycle race. Specifically, it's the. Wait, hold on a second. I think I have this book confused with Nancy Drew Files Never Say Die. My mistake. Arglefonf Book Review, Arglefonf Book Review. I'm told this book was a happy surprise for Alex Rider fans because they thought the series was over forever. It is a good book. It's an excellent return for Alex Rider, which is sure to delight new and old fans. That said, I'm disappointed because I thought Scorpia Rising was a perfect way to end the Alex Rider series. In order to continue the series, this book is forced to undo a lot of the things that happened in the finale. Like, Scorpia is no longer defeated for good, and Alex is not living happily ever after with his girlfriend Sabina. Alex is actually miserable, and he's not dating Sabina. They decided they're better off as friends. So much for that relationship. Of course, the biggest change is undoing the tragic death of Jack. The villains only pretended to kill her. The truth is that they kidnapped her and took her to France. This book kicks off with Alex getting an email from Jack. The email is only 3 words long. As a result, nobody else believes Jack is alive. Alex is forced to solve this case on his own. Alex travels to Egypt, where he escapes from government agents. He goes to the villain's hideout from the previous book. Inside Jack's prison cell, he finds a 1-word clue: Grimaldi. Alex is interrupted by 6 henchmen who are left over from last book. They blame Alex for the fact they no longer have jobs. Come to think of it, Alex has put a lot of villainous operations out of business. I wonder how many people lost their jobs because of him. It must be several dozen at least. Alex fights off the henchmen and he's rescued by Colonel Manzor, the head of Egypt's spy service. Colonel Manzor says Giovanni and Eduardo Grimaldi are twin brothers. They are members of Scorpia who managed to evade capture. Alex and Manzor rewatch the video of Jack's death. Alex notices there's a brief time skip before the explosion. This convinces Manzor to help Alex. He gives Alex an exploding computer and a free trip to France, which is where Jack's email was sent from. Mrs. Jones from MI6 meets Alex there. She wants him to give up the mission and go home. She unknowingly gives him a lead. Right after she leaves, Alex realizes Jack was taken as a hostage on a boat. There's only one boat that perfectly matches the route and the timeline of the kidnapping. It's a shame Alex didn't get this information until after Mrs. Jones left. It probably would have been enough to convince her to help him. He could really use the help. Alex uses his exploding computer to get past some guards. He sneaks onto the boat. His search is interrupted by Dragana Novak, a villainous pilot who stole a giant helicopter in the first chapter prologue. She also killed 2 people. She tries to kill Alex, but he purposely tricks her into shooting at the one part of his body which is secretly protected. He escapes from the guards by blowing up the kitchen. That's twice Alex has used explosions as a distraction. Get used to it. Explosions are his distraction of choice in this book. The Grimaldi brothers make their first appearance as they kill Novak in the hospital. Alex hides in their car, and he explores their hideout for a little bit. He overhears the Grimaldis plotting Operation Steel Claw with their associate, Mr. Vosper. Alex is caught by some guards who connect a concrete block to his foot and drop him into the ocean. Not for the first time, Alex is rescued by an MI6 agent who he didn't know was there. Alex reports to the spy masters. They narrow in on the fact that Vosper said the list is solid gold and they're seeing Henry at 3:30. The spy masters incorrectly conclude that Mr. Vosper is stealing gold from a museum. By pure chance, someone quotes the Shakespeare play Henry V within earshot of Alex. He suddenly realizes Henry is a reference to that play. That means the crime is not Mr. Vosper stealing gold, it's Mrs. Vosper kidnapping a school bus full of wealthy children. The culprits use a helicopter and a crane to take the bus off of a road and place it on a train to Wales. Alex manages to get on the bottom of the bus, thanks to a furious car ride and an ejector seat. The train arrives at an abandoned coal factory. Alex breaks in, and he is at long last reunited with Jack. The explanation for Jack's presence here is a little far-fetched. The Grimaldis knew they would need someone to watch the kids during this kidnapping caper. They decided against giving that job to the dozens of guards, or to Mrs. Vosper, or to the teachers who were kidnapped along with the children. No, the Grimaldis decided they needed a professional nurse. Jack is not a nurse. She's a nanny. But that was close enough for the Grimaldis, so they faked her death and took her through the months-long process of holding her hostage and secretly transporting her to Wales. Why did they think that was the easiest way to get a nurse? Jack helps Alex provide a distraction to get the kids out of the building. They have to sneak around the complex and use an old coal slide to reach the bus without being noticed by the guards. The guards realize the kids are escaping once they start the bus. They open fire on the bus. Alex uses a huge explosion as a distraction. The Grimaldis use the train to chase after Alex. He risks his life to get a bottle of gasoline, and he risks his life again to throw the gasoline into the train's smokestack. This causes another huge explosion, one which kills the villains. Jack gets $5 million for saving the children. She and Alex decide to stay here in England, which will make it far easier for MI6 to recruit Alex on a mission in the next book. The end. Post-book follow-up. As I said towards the start, this is a good book, and I enjoyed it the whole time. I especially like the scenes with Mrs. Jones. It brings a different dynamic to the spy stuff, with her as the reluctant head of MI6. Alex is no longer a reluctant spy. She worries he's grown addicted to throwing himself into unnecessary danger. I mean, she's not exactly wrong. The only thing I didn't like about this book was the explanation for why Jack is still alive. It seems out of character for the Grimaldis to want a nurse for the kids in the first place, especially since they elsewhere show no remorse in having to kill some of the kids. I'm glad Jack is back, but there needed to be a much better reason for Scorpia to keep her alive beyond she can kind of do a nursing job for us in a couple months. It might have been a cool plot twist if it turned out Jack was dead all along and the villains were merely luring Alex into a trap. Overall, it's a good book. I just wish it had not hit the reset button quite so hard, because returning everything back to the status quo undercuts the good ending that Scorpia Rising had. I give Alex Rider number 11, Never Say Die, a 9 out of 10.